Our next expert speaker is an integrative gut microbiome expert and functional nutritionist and founder of Body Cocoon, a nutrition and fitness studio in Mumbai. She has been featured in FHM, Times of India, Femina, Vogue, Yourstory, and Hindustan Times. She has degrees from Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, USA, and Institute of Integrative Nutrition, New York, among others. A big welcome to Janvi Chitalia. Hello, Janvi. How are you? What's up?
Hi, how are you?
I am doing very, very good. So good to see you, Janvi. And we're all here. There's so many parents, children watching us right now. So, my first question to you is that food does more than just fill our stomach, like we all know. But that seems to be a very basic explanation. Can you please tell us how food governs so many of our bodily functions?
Absolutely. So that I think you've pretty much given the answer to the question in the question. It's almost rhetoric, to be honest. So food does govern very, very much everything in our body. And as a matter of fact, that we know that we need at least 75% of the glycogen that we're using is also used by the brain to really do its activities and for us to really be completely physically active in our mind, in our body, everywhere else. And it's not possible without having the nutrients that we get from the food. So, practically, although we all have now moved so much forward into thinking about all the foods that we really like, our temptations for food, the foods maybe we like pizzas, burgers, pani puri, say puri, whatever it is. But essentially, coming back to the basics, food is primarily fuel for our body, it's information for our cells, and it's typically without that balance we really can't have a great balance where we keep our mental, emotional, physical health in place.
Well, my next googly at you, but nothing seems to be a googly for you because you hit the ball of the park all the time. Now, how crucial is the relationship between eating right and exercising to maintaining a healthy lifestyle, going beyond just nutrition or weight issues?
Right. So I think eating right, so that's a wonderful question, that the relationship between eating right is definitely much more than just looking at the weight on the scale or really looking at only, what it does for your body in so many different ways. But it's to look at the true relationship that we share with food as a whole. So I always say this to my clients that, there are two kinds of food. Whereas one is the food that really feeds your soul, and one is the food that really feeds your body. So in a way, I think we often understand, that primary food that we think is the food that we eat every other day, right? But surprisingly, primary food is not the food that we eat, but it is really a lot of other pillars in our life that are primary food for us. So in the sense, that's our career, that's our relationships, that's physical activity and spirituality. Now, you tell me of a person who's had a heartbreak or who's probably, upset with how they score in the exam, or kids who are really worried about their test, you think that they're going to feel hungry, or maybe they would tend to overeat, right? Because you'd feel like you feel emotionally wound up by how you feel in those situations of your life. So they actually govern the choices that we make for food. And that is where that comes in terms of secondary food, which is the food that we eat. So I think we need to really change the way we look at food and the relationship with food, and realize that how we feel in a particular situation can decide how we make a better choice for ourselves, and learn to, kind of learn this beautiful balance for each of us.
Now, with so much of junk and processed food around, how does one make a conscious, healthy decision? Now, parents like me are worried all the time about what my children are eating and whether it's good for them.
No, absolutely. I think I hear that from parents all the time that I see in my consults. They're like, "Oh my God, my child is not eating, and my child is not growing tall, and all the other children in the class are better, and they're not studying. He needs to study more, and he needs to have more brain foods and things like that." So, really, essentially, I think the main thing here is, I do believe, yes, there is a lot more exposure to junk food than probably our grandparents and our parents had. But I think what is beautiful about this is that, a parent can actually educate their child about the fact that it is the balance which is the beauty. So it's not about telling your child, okay, do not eat these chocolates, or do not eat this ice cream, or do not eat these french fries, but it's really telling them that it's not, that food is not going to do much for your body. It's not going to do much for the strength that you want to gain, or it's not going to do much for um, maybe you want to become a sports person, or maybe you want to really do well academically. So you need food that's truly going to nourish your body, and that food is not going to do it for you. So you need to have a beautiful balance between eating the right kind of foods, which are, your complex carbohydrates, your proteins, and your good fats, and finding a beautiful balance for a child, I think, is really, really important. And another thing I think which is very important, I tell parents all the time, that lead by example. Because you could be sitting at the dinner table and you don't like palak ka sabji, and you could put it away back into, serve it to somebody else, and your child is watching you, and your child says, okay, my mom or my dad are not eating these food, and why am I expected to eat this food, right? So I think truly leading by example is important, and learning to openly talk about foods that the child likes, doesn't like. How can you kind of integrate that to make it more fun and introduce them in a better way, I think, is a great way to strike a deal with them.
Now, I know my next question is one that all parents are looking for an answer to. How do I make my child eat healthy? Are there any magic formulas, tricks that you have, like an abracadabra kind of thing?
Unfortunately, there is no magic formula there. I think essentially it pretty much goes back to the same thing, that you want to tell your child, like I said, to educate again becomes very, very important. And secondly, I think getting the children involved today in different activities around food, be it maybe getting them to grow some kind of organic plants at home, or some, try to get them to have a little bit of, fun gardening with you, or maybe getting them to have a little bit of fun making something really interesting in the kitchen with you, or maybe getting them involved in the benefits of the food that they're eating, is a great way to get them to recognize that the choices that they want to make. I often see a lot of parents do not often ask their children what they would want to eat if they want to eat something which is even healthy. So I think it's so important that, like I said, you can sit down, make a really, really fun menu, of make a really, really nice menu with your child, and y'all can decide the good days, the bad days. You can decide the good meals, the bad meals, and really negotiate a nice proposition between both of y'all, and make it more fun. I think children are today are much, much more aware of what they would like to kind of eat. And I think they also, because they have so much more exposure, so using the exposure the right way, and also helping them making better choices, and helping them strike a deal, is, I think, the only way to do this. There is no formula to do this. I think it's just sitting down and working as a team. The parent and the child is the only way to get the good food on the table.
Yeah, like we keep hearing these words of late. Collaboration, that's what it is, a collaborative effort. Now, I've been hearing this terminology a lot called gut health. For those who may not be aware, what is the exact definition of gut and what's its function?
Absolutely. And I think you've touched the topic which is extremely close to my heart and makes me smile all the way. So the gut truly is, just to break it down, it's a digestive tract. It's pretty much the tract from your mouth to your anus. And I know it's literally almost, your intestines are like a tennis court. It's we can't even imagine the kind of work that our gut really does for us. And it truly is one of the most underrated organs that we have, considering the amount of work that they pack in. And you won't believe, so that the most amazing beauty about this organ is that we do have a beautiful ecosystem, or a universe, which lies in our gut, which is, a balance of the good and the bad microbes. So that's your bacteria, viruses, fungi, all of them are as much as a part of us, and they live in balance, and we need that beautiful balance to be maintained in order to make sure that everything is working well in the body. So it's about 85% of these good bacteria and 15% of the bad bacteria is the balance that we need in our system to ensure that our food, our food is getting assimilated well, we're managing our digestion well, our hormones are working well, and every other thing. And the gut actually takes care of everything, from your reproductive system to your digestive system, functioning, to even your mood for that matter. So even a lot of your mental well-being comes from the gut. So I think it's essentially very, very important to understand that the gut is, our digestion. It's like when we say, right, a bad stomach can't, if you have a bad stomach, you can't have a balanced body, right? So everything starts in the gut. So does our immunity, for that matter. So and also, to add a very interesting fact in the end, that we're actually 90% of our cells in these microbes and fungi and viruses, and we have only 10% human cells. So I'm going to really burst the myth of all of us thinking that we all are superhuman, but we truly are a super microorganism. And I hope that makes us feel a little more humble, and makes us feel like, oh my god, we're just like a super microorganism and not a superhuman.
Or it's okay, but I've got a super lady in front of me, that's for sure. Now, I'd like you to throw some light on how the correct nutrition, right from a very young age, aids not only physical, but also mental well being.
Absolutely. I think, so I'm going to share a very interesting fact about, when in the gut space, when we're talking about, balance of nutrition as well, when we see, babies born via normal delivery, the baby does come down, obviously head down, and there's a beautiful moment just before the baby cries, is the head of the baby actually kind of attaches itself with a pouch which has all the amazing lactobacilli, which is the beneficial bacteria strain. And as the baby is crying for the first time, you're taking in all the amazing lactobacilli bacteria. And these are actually, I think, such an important aspect that we don't know of, that can actually pave the way for immunity and the health, on the foundation of the health of the child. So as a matter of fact, there's this interesting studies that we've also seen, where children who've probably been born via C-section or not been breastfed tend to have lesser amount of these good bacteria, the species, and can tend to have, more, maybe be a little more agitated, or be more aggressive, be more angry. And while children who do have actually, more kind of, they've been born by the normal delivery, or they've had, breastfeeding for maybe 1 year or so, they also tend to have better strains of the bacteria, and then they tend to have different, more calmer behavioral traits. And I would definitely like to add over here that correct food as a balance, again, I'd come back to that word again and again. Balance is important, and finding that balance for your child. And each child's balance could look different than the other. So don't compare children with each other, because everybody has a different way and different growth spurt, right? Every child is unique, as much as a microbiome is. So it's so important that we see that they get a balance of the good, good fats, good protein, and also the lean protein, and also getting the good carbohydrates, the complex carbohydrates, more than the sugary starches, and giving them the right balance to help them have a better kind of a mental and a physical and an emotional balance for the child.
The more we talk about emotional well-being and emotional balance of the child, I actually get down to those emotional days with my grandparents, and maybe their previous generations as well. The more we think about their healthy eating tips, the more we realize they had always rooted themselves in science. For example, our grandparents telling us, and our mothers telling us that eat almonds, it's great because it's going to boost our brain power. So, your thoughts on the same?
So absolutely, I think, I think our grandparents followed this beautiful, connection with. I think they were very, very connected to the soil. They were very, very connected to the food they were eating, and I think that's practically why they were so connected to the science of the earth, right? And I think there's no going wrong there. And I think they all turned out fine, right? Like they're 90 and 95, and they've had better health than all of us put together. So Truly, yes, I do believe that science has, they everything that they followed has been rooted in science, because I think also what has happened is over the years, as much as we have evolved, our choices have evolved, so has the food we eat. So, today, as a matter of fact, like when we talk about a lot of people not having dairy today or not having gluten today, is a lot of people are seeing allergies and intolerances going up. And that's because the food that we used to eat, say our wheat or a gluten, was about 14 chromosomes, and today that same wheat is about 42 chromosomes. So there is actually an evolution of the, or a change of the kind of food we eat. And that's exactly also why there is so much of a change in the way that we respond to that food. So I think definitely believing in the fact that there were so many basic home remedies, or maybe foods that we used to eat, maybe our turmeric, eating our green leafy vegetables, eating fruits, eating definitely eating a disciplined lifestyle. We're eating maybe at, a lot of them used to eat at 10 in the morning, finish by 6:37 in the evening as the sun sets. So I think going back to nature, I think, is beautiful, and they followed something called intuitive eating, which is something I think we've really lost our connect with. Intuitive eating, which I really ask my clients to practice, is nothing but going back to really knowing what works for you on a day-to-day basis, and really going back to our roots. So intuitive eating is, when, I think we essentially know when we overeat, we know when we're eating something that's not feeding our body, but we're not listening enough to what our body is telling us. And I think truly, if we want to imbibe something from our grandparents, and going back to the science, is to go back to following intuitive eating.
In fact, when you said turmeric, I remember the concept of superfoods, right?
Mm.
The West has woken up to the benefits of turmeric and has obviously started putting everything into it, from coffees to their smoothies. It's got it all. What exactly are these superfoods, and are they just passing fad, or are they here to stay?
So superfoods have actually always been here, Siddharth. I think they've been a part of our kitchen from the time that, we've been home cooking, and I think they're definitely here to stay because they've always been around, and I think they will continue to be around. So superfoods are nothing but, to break down, that they are foods which basically have low calorie but extremely high nutrient density. So in the sense that they are very high on vitamins, they're high on minerals, they're high on antioxidants, and a lot of that we're looking at power packing our meals. So if you really want to power pack your meal with low calories and still eat something which is very wholesome, then superfoods are the foods that we want to eat. So different foods like superfoods could be, we have spinach, we have, which is great for green leafy vegetables, and they're very, very, it's amazing for fiber for our gut. And also we do know that it can help you with the iron if you're adding some lime to your spinach. Or even looking at chia seeds are great again for soluble fiber, and they're great also for omegas as well. So chia seed is another great option that people could have for a superfood. Or turmeric, like you said, turmeric has been around. It's one of the most potent anti-inflammatory kind of substances that we have in our kitchen. We do not need medication if we have turmeric and ginger, and we have all of these beautiful superfoods in our kitchen as well. So I do believe that superfoods are here to stay. And definitely, I think the more that we can integrate them to make use of the less time that we have to prepare food, but we want to pack in more nutrients into our meals, superfoods are definitely the way to go.
Well, in the last 2 years, thanks to the pandemic, there's been a lot of conversation about immunity boosting foods. What, according to you, are some of the most effective immunity boosters?
Absolutely. I think we all have been talking about immunity for, I mean, that's become like the word everybody identifies in the last 2 years. So, before I obviously speak about immunity boosting foods, one thing that I like to talk. So, the gut basically is, we're talking about our digestive tract again, and almost more than 75 to 80% of our immune system lies in our gut. I think it's very, very difficult to think of that because, we don't really, when we think of a digestive tract, we have some kind of a diagrammatic picture in our mind from our schools, from our biology classes. But immune system is something which we really can't see, so we can't really process that. But definitely we need to ensure that our gut is working and fine and healthy, to ensure that we have a great robust working immune system. Again, the beauty over here is that we want to support the immune system, and we don't want to actually just work on boosting or underpowering our immune system, because our immune system knows what to do. We just need to have foods that help support it and not necessarily boost the immune system. So what we want to really talk about here today is that, yes, some of the main concussions which you can have definitely is turmeric. You can have ginger, which are great anti-inflammatory foods. They're very, very potent. Also, vitamin D3 is amazing. It's not really a vitamin, it's actually a hormone which really helps us with our immune function as well. So, vitamin D3, ensuring that our levels are great, is also or maybe even adding some amount of animal products to our diet, as along with having maybe animal products would also help us to get a good amount of zinc in, which is also great for our immune function as well. So we have pumpkin seeds, which are also great in zinc, which is a great option for people who are vegetarian as well. So I concussions of maybe a healthy, and having that with pepper is very, very important. So you're having haldi, then you need to have black pepper, because it has an active ingredient called thymoquinone, which helps for the absorption of the curcumin from the haldi. And also, yes, going back to our grandparents, where they used to have the milk with haldi, we want to, a lot of people who can't digest milk today, you want to add some virgin pressed coconut oil, or you want to add some amount of ghee, because that's going to help you to absorb the curcumin as well. So there was definitely science to that as well, coming going back to the earlier question. But yes, we want to try and be able to do all of that, and also have probiotics, which are beneficial strains of bacteria, which can be in a yogurt, which can be in a rice water kanji, again, which will help your immune system as well.
Wow, now talking about that, I have got my gut instincts which are telling me to ask you this. What advice would you like to give to parents to improve their children's gut health?
Absolutely. I definitely think that gut health is really, building the framework of your child really involves building the gut health of your child. And it's so important that we recognize that we want to have our child to have a robust microbiome, which is having a good balance and diversity of the good bacteria, to ensure that they really have great immunity, and they have, everything in balance, right? So we want to keep the 85 to 15% balance. And for that, you want to allow them to eat multiple amount of different colored, fruits and vegetables. Maybe have some red, yellows, greens, blues, all different kind of vegetables, which all have amazing antioxidant powers, have their own benefits, as well as helping them to eat foods which are high on prebiotics and probiotics. So we having, again, having yogurt, having rice water kanji, having some kimchi, having, today we have kefir and sauerkraut. A lot of people are having different options as well. So introducing them to different foods which will help to build their microbiome is great. And number two, definitely I think it's important that, let your child get his or hands dirty and let them play in the soil. I think today, to really build a robust microbiome, you want to have them to have exposure to the soil. Our soil has amazing amount of multiple bacteria which are actually also beneficial for them. So, like they say, daag achhe hai, they used to talk about that. Let them play, let them get dirty. I think so many parents are always so, livid about the fact that my child got their hands dirty, and now they're going to. So yes, you want to maintain some hygiene and all of that, I understand. But apart from that, I think it's a great way to really build the microbes in the system and to build their gut health. And one last thing that I'd really like to add, which I think I've seen from my personal experience with a lot of other clients and children that I work with, often I've seen parents don't take some of their children's complaints seriously. So often I've seen that, there are children who talk about saying, okay, you know what, I don't want to have milk. And I know that there is a, thin line between some children sometimes saying that they're just trying to get away and not have something they don't like. But I think often I've seen that children are pretty truthful, and they probably do feel some discomfort, or they don't feel comfortable, and they do not have the knowledge to be able to really put that into words and describe if they're feeling uncomfortable with a particular food. And with the rise in intolerances and allergies today, I would really urge each parent that if a child complains of having some kind of discomfort with a food, please listen to them and also try to understand, maybe make an elimination chart and see if a particular food that they're complaining about again and again is giving them any kind of symptoms or trouble, and maybe try and listen for the cues. Because I think, like I said, a child is very intuitively engaged with their own self, and they know what works for them, what doesn't work for them at a very intuitive level. So I think maybe just try to be more aware of that, and give your child a fair hearing when they say that something's not suiting them. Maybe they have actually figured an intolerance for themselves as well. So that's one last thing that I'd like to share.
Well, Janvi, I want to pat myself on the back, and including my wife, Neha, who's watching this right now. Pat yourself on the back too,
Yeah,
because when our kids end up getting a little muddy and stuff like that, we actually believed and have always believed that it helps in immunity. So you're reiterating that. So that's damn good. So I think we're also on the right track. And of course,
absolutely.
listen to the complaints of your children, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so thank you, Janvi. Your talk has inspired me to go home and eat something healthy. So thanks so much. And I must say that you've got infectious energy and you brought a smile on everyone's face. And we've learned so much from you in such a positive manner.
Thank you. And I really, really hope that at the end of the day today, if we can have parents take back home one thing that they can follow or they can take back and really, integrate into their lifestyle with their child, whatever that they connected with or resonated with, I think that'll be a win, because that's the difference that you want to make in every person's life who's listening to you. And thank you so much, Extramarks Weekender, for having me here on this amazing platform and giving me this initiative to talk about something that is completely out of school syllabus, and especially talk about gut health and its concerns, which is a topic so close to my heart. So thank you so much for this. I've really enjoyed being here today.